sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, I know.
I got him with the intro.
Yep. This episode of the Off Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Power Tank, and Medical Gear Outfitters.
Off Road Podcast, episode 310 Mechanical Sympathy.
Tonight, Aaron drives around a mountain, Jeremy is bleeding out, and Ben is in a ditch in Montana.
Welcome to the Off Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off roading world. Tonight, I am your host, Jeremy, and I am here with my other host, Aaron. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Ben decided he was too cool to be at the show today, so he's on vacation. The Weekend Review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off. Well, Aaron, what have you been up to this week?
Let's see here. Last we talked, I was going to be installing the engine in my Nissan Titan over the weekend, and I'll just save the lengthy banter and say that did not happen. So, my wire harness didn't show up in time, and so I couldn't put the engine in, and I did not want to put the engine in without the wire harness because it has I wouldn't be surprised if it had like 35 different plugs from the wire harness, and
Sounds about right.
I didn't want to fight that with stuffing a larger engine into the front end of my truck. So yeah, that's what didn't happen this week. So beyond that, I took my son to summer camp, and summer camp was on the backside of Mount Hood here in Oregon. And so I literally drove like 270 degrees all the way around from where I live to the backside of Mount St. Helens, and then Mount Hood, and then back again 270 degrees back. Um, the whole thing took us about 8 hours. We stopped at a couple places. Um, I'm not known to stop at places. I'm the guy who just trucks on through. So it was a little hard for me to try to do that, but we made it happen. One of the two places we stopped at was Bonneville Dam on the Columbia River, and they've got like a fish hatchery. And I'm like, I mean, I need to kill some time. Let's stop at the fish hatchery. It was super cool. I recommend anybody, no matter where you're going to or from, if you're on Interstate 84 east of Portland, stop at that fish hatchery, and it's really cool. They've got like obviously the typical fish hatchery stuff where there's little tiny fish, but they've also got a pond out back that's got some monster sturgeon in it. One of the sturgeon, I didn't have my tape measure on me, but I'm positive that it's at least 7 feet long.
Woo!
Yeah. And they've got like one of those aquarium viewing windows where you walk down below and you can look through the window into the pond, and these giant sturgeon just come up to the window, and it's like they know they're getting their picture taken. It's pretty funny. So
Bunch of prima donnas.
yes, so that was a good time. We dropped him off, and my only concern, obviously, Mama's worried about her son going to summer camp. He's 10 years old. He's never been away from the house for that long by himself without a parent. So she's doing her mama stuff. I know he's gonna have a great time and stuff. I went to summer camp when I was his age and absolutely loved it. I look forward to it every year. Um, but I do have one concern, and that Friday, fire started like 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, 20 miles from his camp to the southwest of him. And I've been keeping an eye on it. Friday, it was obviously started at 5 in the afternoon, but as of this morning, it was 7,000 acres. So it's growing fast, and I've heard that it's 0% contained. So I don't know what it's going to do. It was blowing his direction, but then it turned around and blew 100% the other direction. So we'll see. I'm keeping an eye on it. I may have to do a fast evac. So We'll find out.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that the camp will take care of evacuation if they have to.
Well, because you have to drop your own kids off and stuff, it's not like they have buses and vans and stuff to take kids to and from. But
I guarantee you
yeah,
they'd charter a bus if they had to.
I sure hope so. But I wouldn't mind. I mean, I want them to have a great camp, but I wouldn't mind flying in there like a hero with the truck and picking up half a dozen campers and stuffing them in the truck and
Yeah,
having an adventure.
and then you could keep going back and forth and burn up your truck, and then maybe Ford will give you a new one like
There,
Tacoma or like
there we
Toyota.
go. Yeah, like the panda, the Tundra Panda or whatever that
Yeah,
guy.
exactly. I think that's your ticket to a brand new 2022 Ford.
There you go. Brent says he drove right by it when he passed through Pine Grove Saturday afternoon. Pine Grove is actually where I dropped my son off for camp Sunday afternoon. So missed you by 24 hours, Brent. You
Drove
should.
by it or said it.
I I don't think Brent set the fire, but I wish he would have let me know he's going that way because I could have just had him bring my kid to camp for me. That's a lot of long drive there and burned a lot of fuel. So what have you been up to, Jeremy?
Well, I got the tires balanced, so I still only have four. I need to pick up the fifth tire now that I actually have a place to mount it. Although I do still need to weld on the mounting plate. I cut off the old mounting plate, but I need to weld on the new one to take the 8 lug axle or the 8 lug wheels. So I was able to get those balanced, and then I tried to get the alignment checked, but I was having a little bit of a soft brake pedal, and I asked them about it at the shop. I'm like, hey, because I kind of had a suspicion that maybe my brakes were off for so long that maybe I got some air in the ABS module.
Mm,
They said, yeah, we'd have to go through and do a diagnosis, and then, yeah, gave me the whole spiel, and it was going to cost like $350 to bleed the
yeah,
ABS module. And it's
yeah.
like, yep, nope, thanks. So I have a scanner that can do the ABS bleed. It came in today, so I'm gonna just. It was like $140 as opposed to paying $350 to have them bleed it once. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm gonna do that as well. I found out that um, I had a loose banjo bolt on my front driver side caliper because when I had driven after I had driven home from going to Costco in that same trip, I started leaking brake fluid. So it was kind of loose, and then I think it loosened up too much, and then uh, started leaking out right before I got home. So I'm thinking maybe that could have possibly been the issue, but I'm still going to go ahead with the ABS bleed just in case because it was open for a while. Um, and when I was at the shop, they said I was supposed to have them just check the alignment. And they after oh I like Ben's comment. Ben's apparently joining us in the cast or
Yes.
in the show, and he says highway robbery. You misspelled robbery. Anyway, when so I had dropped off the vehicle and I was just talking to the guy in the shop. He was asking me questions about the Jeep, and then the guy came back who took my keys came back and said, "Hey, I'm glad you're still here. The our our uh, our manager said we can't even pull your rig into the shop because it's having brake problems. So you got to get those fixed before we can check your alignment." And it's like because
Oh,
of
liability. Yeah.
yeah, but it was like I don't know.
Fudge.
Like I understood it at the same time. I thought it was
Yes.
kind of a cop out, but
Yeah.
because it was still braking fine and stopping fine. It just
Yeah.
was a little bit of play uh, before it. There was a little bit more play than normal, but I mean I get it from their perspective. It's probably the safest call to make, so I didn't give them much of a hassle, but I did roll my eyes a little bit. So
Yeah.
uh, the other problem that I found out is my front. driver's side spring is coming in contact with my sector shaft brace. So I put on the Synergy sector shaft brace. And so I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm probably going to end up moving the axle back a little bit. But I'm also trying to just decide if I just want to take the sector shaft brace out. I'm trying to decide if I actually need it, considering I have the hydro assist. I'm assuming that's going to take up most of the pressure that's going to cause a sector shaft to break. But
Can you trim the sector shaft brace, like just notch it or
no, because it's
grind
it's
it a little?
contacting it right where the bolt is. One of the
Mm.
bolts.
Can you
So
take that one bolt out and leave the rest bolted in?
no, I don't think it would provide nearly as much structural integrity. The other thing is Synergy says that their brace doesn't work with they won't guarantee that it'll work with any track bars other than their own or stock. I kind of thought that was maybe just a ploy uh,
Yeah.
to get you to buy theirs. But I was kind of looking at it, and the clearances might be a little tight on my Metal Cloak track bar. So what they do is they actually replace. So they actually replace the nut for your sector shaft, and so it sticks out a little bit more because what it is that becomes the riding surface for the bearing. So they basically put a bearing, and then it goes back to their track bar brace. Which if I take the sector shaft brace off, I'm leaving the track bar brace there. Um, and then so their sector shaft brace bolts into the track bar brace, and then there's a bearing that goes in, and then when you screw in the nut for your sorry, not track bar, for your drag link, that's actually what the bearing surface is. So it does stick down quite, like, probably about half an inch lower than the sector shaft, which would normally be the lowest point. So I need to figure out whether or not my track bar is actually going to come in contact with that nut. Because if that's the case, then I'm just going to say to heck with it and take the sector shaft brace out and run with it.
Yeah.
We'll see. Because I'm not buying a brand new track bar. I'll just clearance the
Well,
track bar, right?
there you go. Yeah. Ben says that his phone is almost dead and he's enjoying Montana. So we probably won't hear from him again.
Well, it was
Don't have to.
nice that he was able to drop in for a little bit.
Yeah. Don't have to worry about any poor spelling.
Yeah, Ben, we miss you. We're hoping you're having a good time out there and you're on your vacation.
Yeah. Hopefully people don't shut the episode off because you're not with us.
But yeah, so I'm pretty, I've been able to take it out on a couple drives. I've probably put about 50 or so miles on it so far. So I'm doing the break-in process, but it is back in the garage right now while I
Do the break
recenter that
while
axle
you do the
and then leave
break-in
the brace.
process.
Yeah, the break-in process. I like it. And then it's just a bunch of buttoning things up that I have left to do. So I still have to put the fenders on the rear, cut the inner fenders for the new shocks, and put those back on. And then just break the thing in so I can actually go wheel it. So I'm pretty excited.
Mm.
Can't wait to actually get it back out on the trail.
I guess Ben's phone hasn't died. He says trailer was great, so not sure what happened to it. If it's a was great, or the trailer is great. I don't know.
Yeah, I who knows? Maybe he burned it down already.
Burned it down, left it in a ditch. Maybe the brakes went out in his trailer like they did in his Forerunner.
Did he have trailer brakes?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
And
Hey.
Darwin says don't count on it. I can fat thumb with the best of him. I'm assuming he's talking about spelling errors.
Yep,
So
I would assume so.
yeah.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
Well, for our listener feedback this week, did you have something to say?
I thought of something else. You mentioned trimming something for your shocks, your inner fenders, and that reminded me. I just bought some rear shocks for my truck today. That will basically complete my suspension swap on my truck. So I've been running the stock suspension on my truck with coil spacers up front and a modified OEM leaf pack in the rear. And in the rear, so in the front, I gained 3 inches. In the rear, I gained more than four. I never measured it. I may have gained like 7 inches in the rear. I'm not totally sure. Um, but I was still running the stock shocks. And those were probably limiting my flex and things like that. So I bought some new Bilstein 5100s that are for 3.5+ inch lift for the rear. So we'll see what those do for the rear end of my truck. I'm excited.
Hopefully you don't drop a coil now.
Well, no, it's leaves. It's leaves in the
Oh,
rear.
you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Lease.
Yep.
Yep.
I have
Yep.
a
Yep.
pick. I
Yep.
have a
Yep.
pickup truck. I have a
Yep.
pickup truck, not
Yep.
an SUV. So
My
yeah.
bad.
Yep.
So the listener feedback this week comes from Fred and Lucy. We were talking before the show. We can't remember if we read this on the air yet or not, but heck, you get another bite at the apple. We'll send you another sticker. So Fred and Lucy says enjoyable, fun, and friendly. I just listened to the Alcon trip, so this was a little while ago, probably, but trip review, good stuff. Always fun to have Andy and Mercedes chat. I'm guessing that it makes it easy for you guys because they do all the talking. And yes, they are a fantastic guest to have on the show because they bring pretty much all their own content and just pontificate about it very well and tell very good stories and are just very enjoyable. We can almost just, when they're both on the show, we can almost just sit back and not do anything.
Yeah. And speaking of that, tune in next week to hear Andy and possibly Mercedes as well. We're going to talk about wheels.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we all are.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
Danger close.
Danger
There you
close.
go.
Only got a few more, like one more week, and then we're out of June.
Yeah. It is almost time for them to pre-release July. I'm sure July will be geared toward patriotic stuff. Obviously, this is somewhat patriotic because it's fireworks and Fourth of July kind of stuff is what June always seems to be. But July is almost always about founding fathers kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one.
I think they do it that way so you can have your 4th of July patch actually on 4th of July.
Yes. Yep. Ben says his trailer did great going over 3 passes. Apparently, he lied about his phone almost dying.
Yeah, he just wanted the ability to peace out whenever he felt like it.
Yeah, that's it. He wanted some sympathy.
And
So,
I
go ahead.
think it's usually more the truck or the towing vehicle that's going to have problems than the trailer, more often than not.
Usually, yeah. So, but I am happy that because I don't think he's really taken the trailer out. I think he's taken on one trip so far. So this is a good test, and honestly, it's a good test for. Well, I was going to say his Forerunner, but he's driving the Excursion, which probably shouldn't even know that that trailer's behind it, for that matter.
Hopefully not.
So, yeah. Yep. Well, so our news. Should we?
The news is brought to you by PowerTank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Every time I hear that ad, I think about how excited I am to have those monster valves in my new wheels.
Yeah.
I need to actually go ahead and time them.
When we get together in October, although no one else has chimed in for that trip, when at least you and I get together for that trip, we can do some timing of the different ways, like filling through the regular valves, through the monster valves, with an ARB single and ARB twin, with Ben's manual bicycle pump.
Ryobi.
Yeah.
So I tried to use my Ryobi because I was sitting in the garage and I'm like, I don't want to start up the Jeep and do all that stuff. So one of my tires, when I thought I was going to have to air down to get it out of the garage, I just had dropped the tire pressure on one tire. I don't even know why I just did one. I think I was just playing around with it probably because I knew it needed to go down anyway. I'm like, I'm just going to air it down with my monster valve because I feel like it. And so I threw the Ryobi on the tire to try to get it back up to street pressure. I had a full one of their more powerful batteries and like ran it dry in like 10 minutes and it still was at like only went up like 10 psi or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
I have I have one of those Ryobi ones, and I loved it, and I'm using past tense because somehow it stopped work. Like it would pump, but it wasn't letting air out the chuck. So I think
hmm,
it was bleeding air somewhere between the hose and the compressor. But I loved it for bicycles and the tractor, running out to the tractor to air up a tire, or a passenger vehicle tire, something small, or even the motorcycles on the property, or
mm-hmm.
the riding lawnmower. It was great for that because so portable. You plug it on. But anyways, yeah.
Yep,
I
yep.
It's neither
We
here
use it
nor
on my
there.
wife's car or the
Yeah.
stroller tires. It works well for those, and my bike.
But for but for 33s and up, uh,
Nah.
you really need your power tank.
I was really just curious to see what it would do.
Yeah,
I wish I could hook it up to a monster valve, although it probably wouldn't push any more pressure than it could,
yeah,
or more,
probably not.
not pressure. Sorry,
Yeah,
airflow.
it probably wouldn't give you anything because of how little it pushes, anyways. So,
Yeah,
Darwin wants to know if we have a shop compressor. I do, but it is so. I don't know. I've got an aversion to noise, so I hate it when my shop compressor runs. In fact, I own air tools and I avoid them because I hate the sound of them. So yeah,
and I don't own a shop compressor. We just have a pretty small garage, so I never invested in it yet. I'm all battery for like impacts and stuff like that.
yeah. I recently bought a um, mid torque Milwaukee impact gun, and it is got I think 650 foot-pounds of torque, and I've used it all over my Nissan swap, and it's been absolutely phenomenal for that. And not having to worry about a cord or a compressor is great. So Brent says they need to make more filling places for power tanks, and we agree, and we've talked to them about that as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things with them. Make sure you're looking in your local area before you go and buy the power tank. Make sure you have a good spot where you can go and fill them pretty easily because
Yeah.
depending on where you are, it can be a bit of a challenge. Or what I
Or
recommend a lot of people do instead of buying their nice tank is just buy a tank that you can swap and just buy
yeah,
their regulator because really that's where the magic happens for the power tank is really within their regulator.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, there were several places around me that were like, "Well, yeah, we'll tank swap you," and I'm like, "No, you won't tank swap me."
Not for this
So,
beauty.
nope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the downside to that is obviously you're not going to get that gorgeous tank.
yeah,
Yeah, Darwin says welding supply store. Yep, that's absolutely right. Except for a lot of them only do swaps; they don't do fills.
yeah, for sure. Well, the news, which is brought to you by Power Tank. The first one we have here is we're talking about the Mint 400, and they're adding a military vehicle class. So the last Mint 400 um, they had like an exhibition event for the military vehicles, and it wasn't supposed to be a race, but apparently it turned into one excuse me, kind of, and it raised like almost $105,000. That 100% of it went to charity, and they're like, "Wow, this really took off, and people loved it." So they're adding two classes: an M000, which is the vintage class, and an M500, which is the modern class.
I have one question. Or comment, I guess. I wonder how much damage they did to government vehicles in the process of this race, and whether or not
Yes.
it exceeded the cost of 105,000 or 100, yeah, $105,000 raised for charity.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't really mention that. But honestly, military people are hard on equipment as it
Oh yeah,
is. I
yeah,
mean, you throw an 18-year-old kid full of testosterone in an off-road vehicle and
and tell them drive as
pretend,
fast as you want.
yeah, pretend that somebody is chasing you in a training, and they will absolutely use and abuse that equipment. So yeah, they haven't announced the class rules yet. They're still working on that, and they said that you don't have to be in the service current or in the past to participate. So if you're one of those dum dums that bought a military truck like I did, because they're big and awesome and cool, um, then you can bring that cool rig and go have fun with it at the Mint 400. So the the cool thing about it is that all the money that they're raising through this portion is all going to funds to provide money and sponsorship stuff for active and veteran military groups. So they didn't say which groups that they give the money to, but it doesn't matter. It's going to a good cause.
Yeah, that's super awesome. It makes me want to buy a Humvee now just to go take that thing out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Or how about an old Willis?
I, I see. Old stuff is generally like fragile and slow.
Just swap everything out except for the body. Just
Yeah.
just use the tub.
So like take a Raptor chassis and put a an old like
No,
Willys
no,
ambulance frame on it.
no, not a Raptor. You got to go solid axle, man.
Well, a Raptor, and then you build a Baja with like twin traction beam rear suspension craziness.
All right, I guess that'll
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Well, the next article here is Ford is kind of talking a little bit more about they opened up their Bronco off-road driving school, and so it's ended up there hasn't been a whole lot of information on it prior, but kind of some of the things we're learning is that it'll be about a day and a half of training. It'll take 50 miles of trails, and it's going to be an hour west of Austin, Texas. You're going to be doing some rock crawling, some high speed desert running, and some trail riding. It teaches you how to use your lockers, your terrain modes, all those goat modes, and then using your cameras for spotting yourself through, I'm sure.
Hmm.
It also teaches you some trail etiquette, which I'm super happy that they included that in the training course.
100%. Yeah, me too.
And then the use of the recovery equipment. You can extend your trip if you want to go fly fishing or kayaking or mountain biking. It looks like they're going to kind of sponsor some fun side trips, I guess. It doesn't appear that there's going to be lodging on site, and it's
Yeah,
only open to own. Go ahead.
yeah. It mentioned in the article that you have to provide your own accommodation, so they must not have a lodge on site. I That kind of surprises me though. I would expect that maybe in the future they'll have something like that.
We'll see. It So it's only open to owners of the Badlands version of the Bronco Sport or anybody who pre-ordered a 2 or 4 door full-size Bronco.
I'm
Uh,
happy. I'm happy that they are opening it to the Bronco Sport owners who bought the hardest off-road version, the hardest core off-road version of that rig. I was using air quotes for those listeners out there who can't see me, but I still believe that that is going to be a mildly capable vehicle, capable of doing things, and shouldn't be discounted just because it's not the biggest and baddest out there.
40's all things, man. So so you can either bring your own or you can borrow one from Ford. So I mean, let's be honest. If they're gonna lend me a vehicle for no extra cost, I'm gonna beat on their vehicle and not my vehicle, right?
True, but the article didn't say if it was a no extra cost thing, so we
That
don't
is
know
true.
what those charges are.
Except it did say
So,
borrow.
in quotations, it was in quotations. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. And
this is the exciting part right here.
there are plans for 3 more training sites, and so they're looking at Utah, Nevada, and somewhere in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Is that the
Um,
exciting part?
it is because Nevada's closer than Texas for me. If
Are you going to pre-order a Bronco? Or did you pre-order a Bronco?
I didn't yet, I didn't yet, and I probably will never pre-order a Bronco, but that doesn't mean that I won't purchase a Bronco one day.
Yeah, when they're yeah, we'll see. I still like my Wranglers.
Yeah. Well, you haven't ridden in my Bronco yet.
Well, you rode in Rick's Wrangler and almost bought a Wrangler.
I got really excited how nice that JL was, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised you put so much money into your piece of junk after riding in Rick's.
It's a different experience, different
I'm
feel.
just, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Ben's
I know.
not here, so I have to make fun of you.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to be the butt of the jokes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about our giveaway that we've been talking about for the last 10 or 11 episodes.
We're
Um,
getting near the end of that.
we are. So we've got approximately 2 weeks left in this thing. So we're giving away a Warn VR Evo 10S winch, 10-pound power tank with all the accoutrement from package A. If you check out their website, you can check that out. We're going to be giving out the Overlander kit from Medical Gear Outfitters, which is a really sweet first aid kit. We're going to give away a Warn Bluetooth hub, which is the phone controlled um, app that lets you control almost every Warn and other winches. And then also a $250 Tread Lightly membership.
Yeah, it's by far our biggest giveaway ever. So make
Yes.
sure you guys get in on it because your time is closing. Your window's closing. We are drawing
Yep.
those winners on July 4th.
Yep. Or July 5th if we don't stay up too late.
I think
Or
I had it end
because we stay up
sometime in
too
the
late.
morning.
Oh, it ends in the morning, so they
Yeah,
can't on the 4th of July. They can't get in there.
I'll have to check what I put on the thing, but I know I intended to draw it on the 4th, so
Okay,
I'll have to check.
we'll see.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
And I just checked. You can get in until 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the July 4th.
Ooh, wow.
So
So
don't
yeah,
wait till the 4th.
yes, get it done before the 4th. Make sure all your
Indeed.
friends are going through your code before the 4th as well.
Yeah. Speaking of codes, do you just want to give out a code?
Um, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I think it should be Ben related somehow. How
Uh,
about Ben's trailer?
Ben's trailer. Apostrophe spelled correctly.
Yes, let's put the apostrophe in there because we like to spell things the right way.
Capitalize both words.
No, we don't need to do that for the code. So Ben's
No,
trailer,
I capitalize
B
both
E.
words.
Are you? You're capitalizing them?
Yep.
And is there going to be a space between them?
Actually, we'll just do all caps.
All
Yep.
caps. That's
All
good.
caps, space between. There is an apostrophe.
And an apostrophe. So BEN apostrophe S space TRAILER.
Yep.
And
And
you're
I will
only
try.
going to get that. You're only going to get that listening to the podcast or watching us live.
Yep. Oh, are we going to leave it on the podcast?
Yeah, let's do it this time. Let's leave it on the podcast this time. And they will pick up. Hopefully that they have realized that they are not listening to us live and they have missed previous opportunities.
Yeah, that's a good point. That you could have gotten the code earlier.
Josh says the less people who get in for the giveaway, the better his chances are, unless those people enter through like the email that you send them or whatever the link that you send them, then it gives you more entries through the link that you spam to your friends. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So we don't promote spamming your friends, but spam your friends.
absolutely. If you want that winch or power tank or whatnot, spam them.
Aaron, pick a number between 15 and 30.
25.
25. You'll get 25 extra entries for this.
Oof. That's good. Yeah. It's really good.
I'll try not to put in the wrong code word this time.
Yeah, that was funny. Well, so our main topic, if you didn't hear at the beginning of the show, we're talking about mechanical sympathy. Jeremy, what in the world does mechanical sympathy even mean?
I think it means don't drive like Ben. And I think we could just end the show there. So good night, everybody.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch.
I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah. But you have a point there. I don't know how many of our listeners. I'm actually sure there's probably quite a few of our listeners that would have listened to this show on like OPB or PBS or whatever public broadcasting station is near you, like their radio channel. But it was Click and Clack, the Tappet
Tap it,
brothers or
brother.
something like. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't
and
drive like my brother.
and don't drive like my brother is what they would say at the end of every episode. So pretty funny. Yeah, those guys were great. Rest in peace.
They
Mechanical
both-
sympathy. I think only one, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
And that code is now live. So go ahead and
Good.
jump in there.
Right on. So mechanical sympathy. So yeah, the first bullet point here is don't drive like Ben. That's what Ben gets for not coming on the show. We're gonna actually talk bad about him without him here.
Normally we talk bad with him here.
With with
But
him
it's
here.
all in chat.
Yeah. So look over your rig often. So you want to make sure your fluids are topped off, retorque certain bolts regularly, like sometimes alloy wheels they can come loose and things like that, or bead locks. You need to make sure you're checking your bead lock to work, things like that.
Hey Aaron, I hate to jump in here, but apparently it doesn't like the apostrophe or the space, and it cut it off at Ben. So it's now Ben's trailer, all one word, all capitalized.
So no space,
No
no
space,
apostrophe.
no apostrophe.
I
Ben's
was
trailer.
afraid. I was afraid that was going to happen.
Yeah. So I did get it wrong, but I fixed it right away. So there's that.
I gotta apologize. I'm like drinking like a sailor here during the episode. It is. I know it's not as hot in my studios as in yours, but it's been heating up since I've got in here, and I had a long day at work and probably didn't hydrate enough. So forgive my water sloshing sounds in my water bottle.
When you say drinking like a sailor, I don't think water, but
Well, sailors really need to drink water to stay hydrated.
I don't think that's where that saying comes from.
Mm, could be, could be. Well, what else do
Darwin,
I drink?
at least you're not talking like one.
That's true. What else do what should I use instead of drinking like a sailor? Drinking like a
Fish.
fish? Fish. Okay, fish.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'm drinking like a fish tonight.
So I've deferred us enough on this, digressed us enough on this. So I think we should get back to the main topic.
Mechanical sympathy. So, well, I left off at retorquing your bolts. I was listening to different things, including bead locks.
Yeah.
And some of these things that you need to retorque, you cannot put like lock nuts on or thread locker or things like that. You don't do that. So, yeah, certain things
Absolutely.
check. Especially if you just did something new to something, you want to check it.
and those are the things that you really want to check all the time. Whatever you can't put thread locker on.
Yep.
And Aaron, what's a good way to just do a visual check of make sure something's still to torque?
Paint pen.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Paint pen everything that you can, in my opinion.
Yeah. I actually don't own a paint pen, so
Tisk
I should check
tisk.
that. Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, you're gonna get mud on it, and maybe you won't be able to see it at all times. But it's a good way, especially for the pre-trip checks. When hopefully your rig's a little bit more clean, you can see all the paint marks.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that would be a good reason to clean your rig. That's
Yeah.
not on our list.
I mean, heck, it's a yeah, that's a good point. It's a lot easier than having to go through and put a torque wrench on everything.
Yeah, for sure. If you can just see it with your eyes. So yeah, well,
Now,
maybe we should add that to our list. Is wash your rig, keep it
yeah.
clean.
Now, I would still recommend retorquing things every now and then, but in anything, you're obviously not going to paint pen because you're probably not going to paint pen your beadlock bolts.
Yeah. Uh, Darwin says if you can't Loctite it, cross thread it. So that is a helpful tip that we'll pass off to Ben, and
Yep.
we'll
Just make
recommend
sure
that.
you never want to disassemble that piece again.
Yeah, exactly. So
Then full
I have a
send.
I have a couple of those bolts on my truck. So
Uh-oh.
yeah,
That you know about,
that I know about.
that you don't
Yeah.
need to maintenance, hopefully.
Yep. Just don't worry about those ones. They're not critical.
For some
So
reason, he never rotates that tire.
you just take the tire off of the rim while it's still bolted on. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how we have
probably
to
easier
change that
than just
tire.
driving that stud out, right?
Yep. The last one here over looking your rig over often is to check your rig out at like your end of the day stopping point. You don't want to do it in the morning before you leave because that doesn't leave you much time to fix it. If you do it the night before, you can catch things and hopefully have enough time to fix it before the rest of the people you're going with leave you in the dust.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our next point of don't forget about maintenance. Don't forego it. Do it as soon as you can because the better you maintain your vehicle, the better it's gonna run, and it's not gonna leave you
Absolutely.
stranded somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. After that, carry recovery equipment. If you don't have recovery equipment, you're gonna default to maybe what somebody else has, which might not be the right recovery equipment, i.e., a chain instead of a um, strap that has some give to it, or maybe you need some sort of like traction board, and you're now using fir tree boughs, and once you start to get loose it kicks it up and knocks out your transmission plug or something like that. So um, having the right stuff can prevent you from having poor outcomes.
Yeah, and not even just leaving it at the right stuff, but this next point isn't necessarily about recovery, but it definitely applies. But take your time. It's not a race unless it is a race.
Unless it is a race,
Unless it
yes.
wasn't supposed to be a race, and then you ended up making it a race. But uh, I actually have a little bit of experience with this. I got stuck. I I got stuck somewhere, and I was using my high lift jack to just jack up the vehicle and stack some rocks because that was going to be the easiest way to get myself unstuck and do the least chance for damage. And I started to jack up the vehicle, and I didn't realize that the vehicle was on a very slight slope. And so uh, the vehicle actually shifted into my high lift and put the high lift bar right into my door, and put a little scratch in the door because I wasn't paying enough attention. So make sure you're taking your time and thinking through your recovery before you go ahead and just start acting.
Yeah. Know what your rig is capable of. Um, Now that can be hard to do if you haven't driven your rig hard enough or you're new to it. But So maybe that would be a good reason to take it easy as well, because you don't know what your rig is capable of. You need to work your way up to that. But don't just say, well, yeah, we're going to just send it right up that crazy steep incline like those hill climb motorcycles do. I'm sure I can make it up that.
Or
I've
the
got
side
four wheel
by sides.
drive. Yeah, I've got 4-wheel drive and a V8. Let's do it. I'll even put my lockers on. Yeah, it might not end well for you.
Yeah. And part of knowing your capabilities and definitely your limits, build your vehicle appropriately. So if you're trying to go out and do, a bunch of rock crawling, and you're trying to do the hardest stuff at Moab, and you're trying to do the hardest stuff down in, Johnson Valley, uh, probably don't build your Dana 30 on a Jeep JK with heavy steel bumpers and steel skid plates. It's not going to last you very long, and it's probably going to break more things when you inevitably break that axle.
What? I thought you could buy trusses and bigger axle shafts for your Dana 30. That's not a good choice for that.
I mean, you can, but I don't know. In my opinion, it's throwing good money after bad.
Yes, unless
Now,
you're planning to swap it into a Suzuki Sidekick down the road
yeah,
because it weighs a lot less and
right,
has a
yeah,
lot less power.
absolutely. And I have no problem with people buying. I wish I had gotten a sport because I just swapped out all the axles and everything. So
Uh-huh.
I would have actually probably saved me a little bit of money just to have the sport. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I got mine in a straight across trade, so I didn't
Yep.
spend any money on my Jeep anyway.
Well, Darwin says for recovery gear, make sure that it's correctly rated for your rig. Just because your buddy has a strap doesn't mean it's rated for your rig, and that's very true. And you can have things that are overrated as well. Like you don't want they make some of those elastic ropes, like the Bubba ropes. They make some that are for some serious GVW rigs, and if you try to use that to yank out a super lightweight rig, it's not going to stretch, and you're going to be very jarring on that other rig. So make sure it's rated properly. And then Virgil in the comments says, spend money on good parts. So that wasn't on our list, but that's very true. Um, Sometimes there aren't good parts out there, and OEM is the only way. I've heard that a lot of times for CV axles, and sometimes the aftermarket doesn't have a good solution for that. So you might have to go to the wrecking yard to get some used equipment to make sure it's the right part. So thanks for writing in, Virgil. Um, Pay attention to your GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating. I just saw this the other day in an overlanding Facebook group where a guy was talking about his Toyota Tacoma, and I don't remember what his GVWR was, but he was like 600 pounds over it, and he said he wasn't done packing. Is this a big deal? And he said, I didn't read through the comments on it because it was going to be a train wreck, and he said that something along the lines of, there's no way I could see me dropping 600 pounds worth of gear. I need it all, kind of thing. So if that's the case, then you need a bigger rig, or you need lighter equipment, or you really need to sort out what you really should or shouldn't bring. And I'm very guilty of this one. But when you have a heavy rig, it's hard on your suspension, it's hard on your engine and transmission, it's hard on your brakes, it's hard on it's hard on everything. So that would be the reason why I go through brakes so often. Is I drive fast, and
And
my
tires.
my truck is heavy. So yeah.
So what if you have changed out your engine, your suspension, your axles, your brakes?
Then you can clearly roll heavier for sure, but that also affects your stopping times when
Yeah,
you have to make an emergency stop and things like that. So yeah. Eric says that that's why he rolls in a 1 ton, is because he can not have to worry about his GVWR, and that's for sure. You get a big truck, you can pack it all.
absolutely. So the next thing on our list is make sure you pick your line, and make sure you pick the line that's appropriate to your vehicle, and not just pick a line. Because if you're in a stock Forerunner, you probably shouldn't pick the buggy line.
Yeah, that's very true. And there's a reason why there's easier lines on hard obstacles. A lot of rigs probably aren't going to make it.
Yep. And
Yeah.
related to that, don't let your buddies goad you into overdriving your rig.
What?
Let them talk you into taking the hard line.
But you can do it, Jeremy. You've got a
Wow.
Jeep on 40s. You can do it. I believe in you.
I can do all the lines now, right? That's at least what the internet tells me.
That's what the internet says. Yeah, for sure. Yep. This next one it mentions it is okay to spin your tires, but if you start bouncing, stop. That's going to be the case for most stuff. If you're in sand, just stop there. Spinning your tires
Well,
isn't going to
yeah,
get you out of the sand.
it's a fair
Um,
point.
yeah,
I didn't think
but
about sand or snow when I was riding this.
yeah, but I mean, it is okay. Usually, you're going to be on a loose surface. It's not going to be too hard. I guess unless you're rock crawling, then it will chew up your tires faster. But you're gonna know that if you're rock crawling, and
Well,
but
and
sometimes when you're rock crawling, that spinning it will grab. You're moving your tires back and forth, and you finally get that traction you're looking for.
or it'll heat up your tires a little bit for you.
Yes.
That's a pretty common thing to do, especially out in like with slick rock, like out in Moab. Uh, you spin your tires for a little bit, you get them heated up, and then you crawl right up the obstacle.
Hmm.
Now,
Guess we'll
it doesn't do good for your tire life, but
no, nope, that's for sure. So I'm not sure if that would be good for mechanical sympathy or not. We're thinking about things that are easy on their
yeah,
equipment.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is it so? Is that easier than going at full speed, full
No,
send?
that's true. It's a lot cheaper to replace tires than it is to replace vehicles.
Yeah, and kind of talking about going full send. I forget where I first heard this, but it's a very good saying. Uh, it's go as slow as you possibly can and only as fast as you need to.
I I live by the motto go as fast as
Fast as you can.
possible, as slow as necessary. So this mechanical sympathy episode is pointed at me as well, not just Ben.
Yeah, for different reasons though, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so maybe to add this one in there real quick, we'll jump line here is go slow while you're entering water. So you're talking about as fast or as slow as you can go. You don't want to enter the water fast. It looks super cool. Don't get me wrong. When you splash water up each side of your rig and it's going 20 plus feet in the air with that big crazy wave, but not only is that water going to be hard on your radiator or your AC condenser and things like that, it may buckle it even. Um, who knows what's under that water? You're going to find out really quick. There might be a
But,
big log or a big rock.
well, and also there's a good chance you're going to throw some water towards your intake.
That's a good point. Yeah, especially if you don't have a snorkel.
And kind of going back to kind of, you know, some of the stuff we were talking about before with rock crawling, don't be afraid to use your lockers. Like that's what they're there for. That's what you installed them. That's why you bought them. Use them. It's a
Yes.
lot easier to make it over an obstacle and keep moving in the day than try to preserve your pride by going in completely unlocked uh, and breaking something because you just couldn't do it unlocked and you pushed yourself too hard.
There is something to say about like trail riding and you're riding in around in two-wheel drive as much as possible. Then when it gets tough, you go in four-wheel drive and then you engage your lockers on the tricky parts. But it's also good for the land if you use all of your capabilities rather than tearing up trails as well.
And
Uh, the next one
some
here is downshifting when you're going down hills. Um, your engine, especially when you're in four-wheel drive or even four low, when you downshift, it's going to save your brakes for when it might be critical that you need your brakes to prevent them from heating up. There's some trails that I've been on with Rick, where we were coming down a very long, steep grade, and two different people's brakes heated up, and we had to just stop and wait for them to cool down. So if you can downshift, um, use the compression of your engine, that'll help you, and maybe even turn your lockers on. I've heard the phrase, if you needed them going up, you need them going down. If you've not been down whatever it was and you didn't just drive up it, you might not think that you need it, but it's not going to hurt to have your lockers on unless maybe it's got some tight switchbacks.
You want to tell that story about where maybe the lockers would have saved you from rear-ending somebody?
I think I had my locker on. I can't
Or
remember
did
if my
you?
locker was on.
I don't
Yeah.
think it was.
So whatever the case was, yeah, it was just I was on a trail and this guy that was with me didn't park his Jeep far enough away from where we were stopping, and I almost rear-ended him. It was really weird.
Technically, you did rear-end me.
That's true. I did rear-end you. Yeah. My ARB bull bar just barely kissed the tire on the back of your JK, and like it actually made like a kissing sound too when the
Yeah.
the metal scooched across the rubber sidewall. So,
And so
yeah,
that happened when we were out at Brown's camp.
man.
And so if you want to hear that full story, jump back to our Browns camp episodes. It might be called Tillamook. I can't remember if we
Yeah.
called it Browns camp or Tillamook, but yeah, that was I remember because Rick said, "Well, did you have your locker on?" And I thought you said you didn't real you it wasn't on, but
It could have been off. That's very true. So Eric in the comments says hill descent plus exhaust brakes equals good. I had my hill descent on, but it had been so long since I used it. It um, you have to completely like trust it and take your foot off the brake. And anytime you touch the gas pedal or the brake pedal, it immediately kicks off of the hill descent. So like it felt like it was going too quick, so I hit the brakes manually rather than the hill descent, and
locked
it
them
like
up.
made things, yeah, it locked them up and it made things really bad, and I was sliding very fast towards the back of Jeremy's truck. So I like let go and I'm hoping that it's going to pick it back up again, but it didn't. So now I have to hit him again. And yeah, I was doing like 25 miles an hour going downhill, and it was very scary. I wasn't scared about my life or anybody in danger, but I was like, I'm totally going to just plaster his Jeep. It's going to be over. I'm going to ruin two drigs. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
So
a fun one. I don't think I'll do that trail in the wet again.
yeah. Yeah, that was some slippery mud.
Oh yeah. And you are definitely not so good that you don't need a spotter in all situations. You may be one of those people that don't need a spotter in most situations, but you will probably encounter one that where a spotter is going to be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they have like spotters when they're doing the big fancy races at King of Hammers and stuff like that. They You can't see everything. No matter how good technology is going to be, I doubt that cameras will be good enough inside of four-wheel drive rigs to be able to pretend like you know where everything is. So spotters are definitely good. That's how I got one of the very first dents in my truck. Was I was I can't remember the trail up in Washington. It's a very Natchez Pass. I was wheeling Natchez Pass, and there's a section where you are cutting through some trees, and it's so rutted out from like the dirt bikes and the quads that go through there, that you go through these trees and they're 45-degree angles around these trees, and it's rutted out deep enough that it swallows your entire truck. And I didn't have enough clearance, and I said, I'm just gonna go through. I think I'm good. And my truck slipped and slid down the hill a little bit, and I was like, I think I got enough clearance, and I kept going, and I drug a tree root against the very top of the bed of the truck where my canopy and the bed meet. So that's how deep in the ground my truck was, that it was rubbing against a tree root. So if I had a spotter, he would have told me to stop, and then we would probably pull the winch out, and we would have put a winch on the back of my truck to make sure that I got around that corner without doing any body damage. Shame on me.
And speaking of that, you can't have a spotter if you went alone.
Very true. Very
So
true.
don't go alone. The other thing that really helps out there is if you're out there with another vehicle and say you have something break catastrophically, you're not tempted to just drive it back to town. You always have that extra vehicle that you can send for parts,
Yeah.
and that can save you a lot of collateral damage as you're trying to drive on a broken rig.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Thankfully, I haven't been in that situation. I hope never to be in that situation because I try to have mechanical sympathy most of the time.
I mean, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, it sure could.
Parts break all the time.
Yeah. Unless you have like a Nissan where they like overbuild the stuff and you don't have to replace axles because they're plenty
How many
strong.
engines have you bought?
But that's because I want a V8, not necessarily because I needed to buy an engine. I could have just done my routine maintenance and been fine with the engine I had. Who doesn't want a V8 in their off-road rig? Come on.
Well, I mean, obviously, I
And
can't say anything about that.
exactly. I'm sure there's lots of people. And Ben in the last episode was talking about that V8 4Runner. So how cool would it have been if he bought that and we all went from V6s to V8s?
Except his would have been less cool because it's factory.
Correct. Correct.
It's cooler to see a V8 in something that didn't come with a V8.
I agree, but I still think that would have been really neat if we all had V8 rigs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving up in the world. Brent says he wants to diesel swap his vehicle. He's got a Nissan Frontier like mine. So, and actually, Brent, I just saw got back from a really cool ghost town tour of Oregon over the past week. Speaking of wheeling alone, Virgil says he rescued over 25 people this winter with a snowcat, and he says most of those people were people who wheeled alone. So, yeah, I've seen it many times. People go up to play in the snow and they just drive up there. They've got a macho four-wheel drive vehicle. They can do anything, and they just get stuck out there and they didn't have recovery equipment. They didn't have a way to get a hold of people, and now they stuck. Yeah,
Yep, that's not a good way to go.
not at all. Well, we want to thank everybody for continuing to join us on our show every week. We really appreciate you guys. Our numbers keep growing in our Facebook group. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, make sure you go over there and join up. We're still trying to overtake the Horsepower Hour podcast. Don't tell them, but we're sneaking up on their numbers. Um, hopefully they aren't listening, but they probably are. But yeah, go over there, join that group, and in that group, you can click a button that says invite. It's super easy to invite people to that group. And if you invite them, they don't even have to answer the questions that normal people would have to answer when they're trying to join the group on their own. So make sure you share us with your friends. Also, like tell them that you listen to our podcast. Share us in the forums that you're in or the Facebook groups that we're in. So appreciate you guys out there. Brent, speaking of people who share us, Brent shares us almost every week in one of the forum in one of the Facebook groups that he runs. So we really appreciate that stuff. So appreciate you guys, and God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.
Eric, thanks personally for listening. Happy that it is your first time and we didn't scare you away.